Just before you meet a remarkable individual who's with me here in the studio, I'll let this video make the introduction.
So the doctors told that I would never ever walk in my life, and I will never live past my infanthood. Whoa. When I was born, I was not shown to my mother for 2 weeks. That's my waist. Everybody thought I was a bad luck to the family, a symbol of bad luck or a curse from the god to the family, or a bad karma haunting my parents and because of their past life. All my life people have been telling me that I cannot do this, or you share some of your dream and they just laugh at you and they try to ignore you and reject you, and nothing is easy in life. So it's all relative.
I've seen him skydive, seen the pictures on Facebook where he jumps out of a plane, and the different things that he does. He's not letting anything hold him back, and he's just an amazing young man. I love him dearly. And he came to me and said he's going to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and I said, wow.
What a privilege it is to have to 100 Huntley Street, Bharath Samrat. Welcome. Hey.
Thank you very much.
It's so great to have you here.
I'm very humbled and honored. Thank you.
And you live in Calgary,
yes.
And we'll get that part of the story why you came to Calgary in a bit. But let's back up and help us understand the condition that you were born with.
The medical term for my condition is called as femoral dysplasia, and I'm missing knee joints and thigh limb. So my shin bones are connected to my waist. So I cannot bend my legs or lift my legs. So when I walk, I swing my legs.
Okay, and you were born in southern India?
Yes, a city called Bangalore.
Yes.
And moved to Calgary 2009.
All right. Now, we saw in that video that your mother wasn't even told for a couple of weeks or even shown you. Why was that?
Well, when I was born, the doctors and the medical representatives told my parents that I would never walk in my life. I would be mentally inactive as well, and I would probably not survive past the infanthood. And they rushed me to all the possible hospitals for medical treatment or explanation, and that's the reason why I was not shown to my mother, and also fearing that she wouldn't be able to take it.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
Now, one of the comments we heard you say there was that in India, there's many gods and there's the whole talk of karma and everything. So what was kind of the conclusion that many were drawing about you because of being born with this condition? Well,
in India, they have around 330 million gods. And if a person, especially a boy, the firstborn is born physically or mentally challenged, it's usually considered as a bad luck to the family, a symbol of bad luck and a curse from God. So that is always hard to deal with. And we come from a small town, so everybody knew, and people would come to just to see how the baby looks like.
Yeah.
So it was hard to face them. I'm sure my parents had a tough time to deal with that too.
Right. So describe what it was like then growing up in India with your challenges.
Well, I always say this way, when a baby is born in a family, it usually brings a lot of joy and happiness, and relationships are healed, people come together, there are tears of joy everywhere. But when I was born, nothing really like that happened. I only brought tears of sadness. But growing up, my parents did not give up. There were emergency family meetings where most of them took a side to reject the baby as fearing it is a curse from God. But my parents loved me, accepted me, and especially my mother, she never let me feel I was different. She always let me go ahead and face the world and prove yourself. And my dad was very supportive too. And growing up, I used to see my friends, my buddies in school or high school. I just wanted to be like them, wear clothes like them, wanted to do stuffs like them. But I felt I was different. People looking at me, making fun of me, bullying me, staring at me. I grabbed a lot of attentions, and I didn't like it.
You went to the same school, like a regular school?
Regular school, and I played regular sports that my friends plays, but never in a team. I was just playing with them, but not in a team.
So what did that do inside of you? What kind of emotions did you have to deal with that?
It was really hard. It was tough because I used to come back home, ask my parents really very tough questions, and they did not have any possible answers. And I used to just slam the door, go back to my bed, and wet the pillow all night. But at one point, I was so depressed that I thought I was the problem, and because of me, everybody else is facing problems. So the best way to solve the problem is get rid of the problem. So I wanted to, kill myself, and that's the end of all the problems. And my younger sister and my parents would be happy from there. So, and
how old were you at that point?
I was probably around 16, 17.
Yeah.
And that was a tough time.
And so how did you work through that tough time?
I think during all these things, the love of my mother, support from my sister and my father, always encouraged me. Yeah. And they believe in Hindu gods, and it was hard for me to accept that. I'm like, if there is a God, why me? I have a million reasons not to believe in God.
Right.
So that was a struggle I was still fighting in my head.
Then what happened when it came to the point of you actually discovered the love of Jesus?
Yes.
Tell us what led up to that, and how did that happen?
When my mother was diagnosed with cancer, that was the time when I was really mad at God. I thought, if there is a God, I'm really mad at him. I was like, first you make me like this, and then you go on and take the only woman who loved me so much. For her, I was the most cutest and most handsome kid, and now she's not there anymore. 2003, I lost my mother, and that was the time when I hit the floor really hard. I thought, now I have to leave this place. I can't take it. I can't take anymore. And I was in my engineering school in Bangalore. I had a buddy who was my classmate, and he was a Christian. And I used to tell him, hey, I wish I was like you, 6 foot tall and smart and good looking, and riding bikes and having fun, wear clothes like you do. And he used to tell me, there's this God, Jesus, who can heal you. That's all he kept telling me. And I was really mad at him too. Because that's when I lost my mother, and I had to be strong, at least pretend to be strong, because my father is a man of integrity, and he supported us, and I have a younger sister. So I wanted to take that responsibility and pretend that I'm strong. But that is when I told my buddy, we have 330 million gods. Why do I need another God? And he said, it's not another God, it's the God. It's the only God. Jesus is the only God. And that's when I met his pastor, and after a series of conversation, I said, okay, let me give a shot. I'll try this Jesus. If I'm healed, that's great. If I'm not, there's nothing to lose. And I started to pray and fast days after days, weeks after week, months after months, and every night I slept hoping that tomorrow morning I'll wake up 6 foot tall. So there was a time when I went and bought a longest pair of jeans that I can find, hung it next to my bed, because if Jesus comes in the middle of the night and heals me, I have nothing to wear. So I was prepared.
That was, it's taking faith.